Dooby dooby doo. Oh, we are auto recording. All right. Well, auto recording go. Autobots roll out. So this is the Wake Up Rundown for Wednesday, May 2nd. It is May. That is incredible. May is my birth month. May 18th to be exact. If you want to send presents, the address is 3885 Changebed Road, Fairfax, Virginia. Just kidding on that. That's my girlfriend's address, so don't stalk her either. And we're moving out of there in like a week. So don't send anything, pretty please. And don't stalk us, pretty please. only online stalking is allowed. Overlord, thanks for watching. I like your little checklist. Doritos checked, Pepsi checked. Ready to watch the stream. Booyah! For this morning's wake up rundown, yesterday we went over patch notes, but we didn't really go over patch notes. I had other topics, and I was so excited about spectating mode that I really got into that. But today I'm actually going to go down the list of patch notes, and, of course I will come out with an article probably sometime later this week, Tarek's Hidden Gems, what I really think is going to happen beyond said patch notes. So let us see here. Let's just go down really quickly. It's going to be a really quick 5 to 7 minute rundown of the patch notes. New skins, awesome. Okay, Alistar now gains 1.25 magic resist per level. He's OP. He was already really good in the jungle, like really, really good, like, about to be banned in tournaments good in the jungle, and now he also gets, an extra 400 gold worth of free items. That is a huge bonus to anyone, but especially to tanky people. Same with Amumu. I was seeing him in play, before he got this little bonus. Now that he has this bonus, I weep for people. I weep for people. We're going to see more AoE team comps. And, some people like AoE team comps and some people don't. So I figure he'll be coming back into play. He's one of the junglers like Alistar that can run into the jungle, rush a Philosopher's Stone, rush a Heart of Gold, use both of those items, build them up to a Randuin's Omen and a Shurelya's Reverie. It'll be really great for them to have both of those items, and he'll be making a lot of gold, Boku money, on top of that as he's going through the jungle, even if he doesn't get ganks. And that's like the brilliant thing, even if they're not farming, even if they're like kind of trolling around the lanes trying to get those ganks, Alistar and Amumu have this inherent advantage if they're running that gold for 10 item setup, and you can potentially do runes as well, run a couple of gold for 10 runes through the jungle, which is iffy. It's going to make your first clear a little bit slower. You're not going to have the extra utility of, movement speed if that's the quince you like to use when you go in the jungle. But, come 15 minutes, they're really paying off. And, particularly if you start with like a health regen pendant and go straight into Philosopher's Stone, you're making a lot of money. So your items are just going to come out fast and furious. That being said, don't fall into the trap where you're buying a lot of GP10s and you end up the game with 4 GP10s and nothing else, because then you're way overpaying for gold making capacity and you're not turning it into anything beneficial. Annie, uh, nice bonus. Nice bonus. Yeah, Annie didn't need a boost. Annie's still okay. The problem with Annie is she's kind of like linear. She's outranged by a lot of people, but once she gets in range, she blows everyone up. So there was kind of that balance, and now this doesn't really change anything except it makes her a little bit more tanky, a little bit better in lane, but she didn't really need that. She was, always okay. So we might see her a little more in tournaments. I know Big Fat Gigi likes playing her against Ahri, and really she's a great pick against any middle she can blow up, and she can blow up almost any middle. Maybe not Ryze, and Ryze we'll get to a little bit later on. Cho'Gath, that's a nice little bonus there. Cho'Gath has always been like a relatively unpopular character to play because, he does have two kind of skill shots that you have to land to be most effective, but he's been a dominant top laner, and he also can go through the jungle in the same way, get those GP10 items. It's like Cho'Gath, Amumu, Skarner, Alistar, Singed can do it. Udyr can do it, but I prefer going other routes. They can all run 2 GP10 items first. So while they might not be getting the farm of solo lanes, once the game gets to 35 minutes, they're actually making as much as the solo lanes just because they have 2 GP10 items stacked on them. And generally solo lanes don't build GP10 items because it makes you a little bit weaker. Whereas the jungle doesn't have to worry about that because jungle is not in like constant conflict. The jungle runs in, picks his points, and really should only be engaging in 2v1, 3v2 fights if he has it his way. Obviously, there's counter ganks, and sometimes they're even fights, but you don't want that. I mean, you much prefer to have the advantage in every single fight. Aurelia. I don't know why they do this. They like decrease her sustain a little bit, but they increase her burst. I mean, they decreased her sustain in past patches with the reduction of heightened style, but they give her a little more base health and more regen. Like that's actually a big deal. I mean, it's one more health per 5 seconds. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's a big deal. And base damage increase. So her trades are going to be good. And I was actually watching the Epic Gaming versus TSM. I think it must have been game two because people were saying, oh, Epic Gaming won 2 games in a row. And I only saw the second, apparently. But we saw Aurelia top against Lee Sin. Now, Lee Sin also received some nerfs, as we'll check out in a moment. But Aurelia was kind of stomping that lane. So, that's kind of indicative of the fact you can't really buff Aurelia because she's always been good top lane and she is going to be even better now. Like, why? Why'd you do this once again? Like, you're like kind of nerfing a lot of the other top laners, and then you're buffing Aurelia, who has always been strong. She just fell out of favor because she's not like incredibly overpowered in the sense that she beats everyone. But for the longest time, she was considered one of the best counters to Vladimir and to Nidalee to some extent, but to Kennen, because she could just rush that Wit's End and then just kind of ignore their damage. And I think she's back up on that level with these bonuses. Probably a good counter to Poppy, Kennen, and Vladimir. Because I mean, now she's just a little bit more sturdy for that, to survive that little level 6 burst, and she does a tiny bit more damage to increase her level 6 burst, and I think I already talked about it yesterday. Her burst is pretty ridiculous for, a tanky character. Kog'Maw, minor nerf, and I think Kog'Maw will receive significant more nerfs in the future, because right now, AP Kog'Maw and AD Kog'Maw are both kind of like the best at their roles. Like, AP Kog'Maw is by far the best sieging AP character, and AD Kog'Maw is the best late game carry. Like, and that Void Ooze slow change is not going to change that. Lee Sin, a little reduction to his sustain, which was expected, but it is pretty minor. 2% at level 3, 4% at level 5. Really just means probably don't level those up over Q or E now. You probably will, take less damage if you just level up E instead. Leona. See, on Leona, she's the only one that I actually think really needed the magic resist per level boost. And that's because she can only really be played in the support role. She doesn't also go into the jungle. She can't also solo lane. So on and so forth. So for her, she's like never getting that many items essentially, and so this is really going to help her survive the team fights because she doesn't ever get like a ton of items, and she has to be in the middle of team fights because when she uses her Zenith Blade, she's right next to enemies, and it's way too easy to explode her just from like kind of collateral rather AOE damage. So hopefully that helps her a little bit. Lulu, yeah, good change. It's not going to change too much. She's still going to be really dominant in lane, but, the increase in mana cost of Glitterlance is a good call. I think it has to be increased even more, because the problem with her before is even without blue buff, she could go top lane and just out-harass people just with Glitterlance. So, actually 20 more mana at max ranks is quite a bit. But that being said, like it'll just mean that she has to go middle or has to get blue or has to get items that give her mana regeneration, as opposed to beforehand when she could just like rush Deathcap or Woda or whatnot. Master Yi. Meditate mana cost reduced. That's okay. That's not going to change how most people do it because most people don't level up Meditate if they're going in the jungle, and that's where Master Yi goes. And duration changed to 8, 10, 12 from 6, 9, 12. So that's a little bit of a bonus for like level 6 ganks. He's really going to be a lot stronger. I've always liked Master Yi, but I thought they were going to do more with him this patch. That being said, if you look at the PBE patch notes, and I did, but I just gave them a glancing look because I know they don't often put everything in there, everything that are in the patch notes, the PBE patch notes that is, they don't often put all of those things into the live patch notes. So I don't want to get too excited or too misled, I suppose, by those notes. Miss Fortune, bullet time now deals physical damage, double up damage increase. That is a pretty nice bonus. I don't really like the double up because her early game's fine. I like the bullet time bonus because like her late game was what fell off late game. Her late game was what fell off late game. Her late game was what fell off and made her kind of unviable. That and the fact that she has no escapes. But, with that doing physical damage, that means, she's not wasting as much damage when she runs Last Whisper because obviously she doesn't need that magic pen anymore. That's not important. Nunu getting the 1.25 magic resist per level, that's a pretty big deal. And I like Nunu. I love him as a support, but I like him as a top and a jungle too. I really want to see him more. Oh, and the one thing I said yesterday, I was like, oh, Aurelia got some base bonuses. I wonder if we'll see her in the jungle. And last night I tuned into one like a high elo game, the highest elo game that was on spectator mode, and lo and behold, there was someone playing jungle Aurelia. That being said, they weren't doing well at all. They might have won, but they were like really far behind in the jungle. So people are trying it, but I don't think it's working out incredibly well. Olaf, that's a decent nerf, just 1 second off of Reckless Swing. He's still going to be incredibly strong top lane. Ryze, I mean, I'm going to have to see how this works. I saw Reginald playing Ryze last night, and the thing is, I guess, it's a tough call. It is a tough call, because I guess they're taking away 1.5 mana ratio from Overlord and Rune Prison, but they're adding 1 to Spellflux, and Spellflux can hit multiple times. So if Spellflux hits more than once, then I suppose that's actually a bonus to his early game damage output, and Overload damage is increased, Rune Prison's decreased. So it's kind of a wash, but he's going to be a little bit weaker just building Tear Goddess, Frozen Heart, Banshee's Veil. Why is he going to be a little bit weaker? Well, despite the fact that the damage has been increased here, he's not going to build any ability power, so he's not getting any bonus from this. And his range is reduced by 50, which is actually kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal. What's up? I'll answer you in this moment, my brother. So the 50 range reduction is a big deal. The Rune Prison, reduction is also a kind of a big deal. And the passive mana component is, a decently sized nerf. I mean, now he gets movement speed, which is nice, but before this kind of trick with him was you could just ran move speed Quince, and you could just like run up to people and catch them within Overlord and a Rune Prison, like kind of at whim, just because you were faster than them, and they would be surprised at your range. But now they're not going to be surprised at your range, because now, like with Overload, you're kind of at like Annie's range. I think Annie's like all at 645, 650. So let's look that up. Actually, I don't want to be feeding misinformation to the masses. Let's see. Okay, she's actually at 625. So that's not as big of a difference as so he's still not as close as Annie, but that's kind of like the problem with Annie is, her range is just overshadowed by people. But 50 range generally means like if Ryze like runs up to her and tries to overload, then she will probably be able to fight back. She'll probably be able to get one of her attacks in as well. Also, if he gets in within range to Rune Prison, I think that is 625, so she'll be able to fight back. So, I mean, her range concerns I think are a little overstated, especially considering the fact that Twibbers has that extra AoE component to his spell. But anyways, back to Ryze. He's going to be a little bit weaker early on if he just builds the same tanky mana, build that he always builds. But I feel like once he gets Archangel Staff and a Void Staff, like which are probably the items he's going to build towards, he is going to be a lot stronger. And now building like a Rylai's is a better idea. Like I think Alex actually built Rylai's on him beforehand, and it was great because you have like the 700, 700 range overload, and now it's slowing for like 35% as well. Helps you get in range for that Rune Prison. So a lot more items are more viable on Ryze, and he'll be stronger once he gets all of those items if he's going more Glass Cannon-ish. But all that means is he's going to still build, Banshee's Veil and Frozen Heart, maybe a Rod of Ages. So his core is still going to be really tanky, but when he just gets into his 5th and 6th items, whether it be an Archangel Staff, a Void Staff, a Rylai's, Crystal Scepter, or whatever he builds, he's actually going to have more of a bonus from it. Singe just got like a gratuitous bonus to his health. That seems unnecessary, but cool. Severe also got a little bit of a bonus. I think like she just kind of fell out of favor, but she was still really strong. She still has really, really strong early game trades with a lot of people, so that will help her out even more. I mean, the last couple of times I've played her, I've just dominated my lane because once you would just auto-attack Ricochet, that is a lot of damage on its own. You actually essentially get 2 hits for other people's 1, and you put Spell Shield up. If they try to like counteract you with any sort of spell, you just get mana back. Soraka Starcall, nice change. The 8 seconds was a little bit overdone. And her spells are going to cost a little bit more mana, which is probably not going to solve the issue. Right now, AP Soraka is just kind of ridiculous mid lane. Like, she is susceptible to ganks, but she just scales so well into late game because she can keep people alive so well. I really like this change, though. Infuse will no longer target allied minions. I have so frequently healed the mana of minions. It's kind of embarrassing. And a little bit of a nerf to Astral Wrestling. That's good. 20 less armor at late levels. Because, like, at late levels, if you gave Astral Blessing to your AD carry, they suddenly had, what, like 200 armor? And they were just ridiculously tanky. I heard that this change didn't go in, but I think it might have gone in. If that change goes in, like, that suddenly makes Talon overpowered because he can suddenly out harass people top lane, especially since the sustain of Lee Sin and Udyr and everyone is going down, and Aurelia, for instance. That Rake is a really great tool for harassing, and if it doesn't cost too much mana, then Talon can just use it and get you low and then burst you down at 6, without too much of an issue. Taric getting that bonus. Okay, Taric I think, does need that bonus as well, along with Leona. I agree with the magic resist per level for support carries, or support champions, but not for people that can go into the jungle and get a lot of farm on their own. Turtle stance reduced a little bit, 5 at level 2, 10 at level 3, but no reduction at level 1. So, and he still has all the same sustain. Udyr, I really thought he was going to get harder with his sustain, but nope. I guess he is kind of balanced by the fact he has no gap closer, so he is relatively weak against ranged champions like Vladimir, for instance. Like, the only way you're really going to catch up to a Vladimir is if you flash on top of them, and generally they'll just Sanguine Pool and get away from you. So, provided they're not like really dumb and just let you bear stance up to them, they should be able to walk away from that most of the time. Warwick also getting his Q damage reduced. That makes him a little less frightening of a laner. And less frightening late game regardless. We'll actually might have to build some damage to do decent damage in teamfights. Beforehand, you could just build him like full tank and run around in a teamfight and just keep queuing people, and eventually you'd be alive and everyone else would be dead, provided you didn't run out of mana. And that seems to be most of the important things. Except, actually, I don't think yesterday I even I even recognized this, but the summoner heal base value was reduced to 100 from 145. That is huge. Like, because previously Ignite I think did 70 damage at level 1 and heal did 145 healing. So even if you were ignited, the heal did, essentially the same as the Ignite. So if you're going to a level 1 fight, like, you would be a lot better off running a bunch of heals as opposed to a bunch of ignites, and even a late game heal was pretty worthwhile since it is an AoE effect. That being said, you can kind of counteract it with Ignite if you Ignite first, because then the healing is reduced. But, okay, all that being said, heal takes another hit, a rather significant hit. I think we'll still see it most of the time, because it is really useful. But, like, now it might be below where it was in Season 1. Like, I'm going to have to go back and look and see how strong heal was at Season 1. Because I remember people who ran it, I was like, oh, wow, that is incredibly useful for team fights. But then they buffed it for Season 2. Everyone's like, okay, well, I'm going to run that instead of Ignite, instead of Cleanse, instead of all these other things. But at this point, it might be weaker than it was coming into Season 2. So I really will have to double check that. The other big item changes, Deathfire Grasp now doesn't have a mana component, so that makes it really appealing to Mordekaiser and Vladimir. And both of them have great synergy with it, because Vladimir obviously can ultimate, and then the Deathfire Grasp will do more damage. Mordekaiser can, just use Deathfire Grasp, his ultimate, and an Ignite, and that will kill a lot of people. It will actually just flat out kill a lot of people. He'll be like Veigar, except he gets a ghost of the person afterwards, and he still does a ton of damage after that burst. Sunfire Cape bonus, damage increased. That's cool. Might see a little bit more play. And Will of the Ancients was nerfed essentially because it costs a lot more money. So that's interesting. You'll see a lot of people just get Hextech Revolver and just kind of like leave it there for a while, because 400 gold is a substantial amount of money to be spending on the same exact item, I guess. So that's unfortunate for Kennen, Vladimir, Mordekaiser. But all of those people that kind of got a nerf from Will of the Ancients now can get a bonus going Deathfire Grasp. It's kind of weird though, because I remember very specifically, right? It's like, oh, well, we don't really like Vagar's concept wherein he just can burst anyone down, and I really don't like it when he can burst anyone down without even catching them in Event Horizon. Like, he gets to a point where if he goes like bottom lane and catches a support, he can just Q Deathfire Grasp and R them, and they're dead. He doesn't even need Ignite, and he doesn't need to land Dark Matter. And once you get to that point where you don't need, a summoner spell, you only need like, 2/3 of your spell rotation to kill someone, then it's kind of an issue, in my opinion. In my opinion. So I don't know what we'll see about Veigar in the future. He does have his downsides, but his downsides have been drastically reduced over time. He does have a much better early game laning phase, and he's also a really great gank assister because his range on Event Horizon is pretty good, so that traps people in for the jungler to come in and gank them. So that stun is always nice to have, and he does he does enough damage to help out with those early level ganks, and if he does get a gank, then you're just not stopping him in lane. He's just going to be ridiculous. Anyways, that is the Wake Up Rundown. We're going to get into solo queue streaming, but all of today we have a ton of stuff lined up for you. We have, solo queue streaming until like 3:30. Then we will have analysis of high-level ELO matches using the new spectator mode. That's exciting. And then at 5, Zero Cardinality and myself will be bringing you Community Shoutcasted Games, $25 RP card on the line there if you happen to win the play of the night. And what do we have after that? In the Zone at 7 p.m. Eastern, that'll be Optimus Tom's tips and tricks bringing you from level 0 to level 30. Always a good show, so just stay tuned all day. We'll be bringing you stuff and just keeping the excitement rolling. All right, got to answer some messages, and feel free to stop by into our chat channel. It is GG Classic on QuakeNet. There we go. You can watch me feed into baddies. I don't know, like, yesterday I went even in my games, but I felt like I played well. And that's what's important, isn't it? At the end of the day, did you play well? And I think that is kind of what it's important. If you just keep playing well, yes, some days you'll have bad luck, some days you'll have terrible luck, but eventually you'll rise up in the elo. Rise on up. Alright. Oh. Oh. Okay, I'm not queued up. There. Queued up, and I'm ready to go. Man, how do people still not ban Shaco? I want to be able to watch games while I'm waiting in queue, but I don't think I can do that. So that's my friend Ninwak. He's a good player. He's gonna lose this game though. They have a Shaco, and he's Ash. Shaco does fall off, but Shaco pretty good early game, and Shaco's still pretty good against Ash. Still killed him pretty relatively easy. Oh man, Takashi X and Tree Eskimo. They must be duo queuing. Zingy, you want fiddle? Zingy always plays fiddle. Ooh, I do want to watch that.
Your team knows what you know.
Bro. Bro. Oh man, I like his singing. He's a really good jungle or fiddle in the middle, and it's really frustrating because people like rarely play against him. You banned Karthus. Who cares? Yeah, well, actually, why did he ban Karthus and not like Lee Sin or something? I'm so confused. I am so confused as to what's going on here. Ali Jungle, yep. Fiddle going to be messed up. Ooh, Vagar. Speaking of the devil. Actually, Ali support, Kog'Maw. Who do I want to support with? I could support with Taric or Nunu. Nunu? Nunu? Hmm.
Pleased to meet you.
Make one. Making a team would be a little bit hard. I need to find a lot of good players that would be dedicated, and that's hard because most people just play this game for fun, which is understandable. I didn't get an answer. I really like Nunu and Vayne combination, but that being said, I also like Nunu or Lulu just for the synergy she has with my team. I can speed up a lot of people to great effect, and I can also turn a lot of their people into little squirrels, which is very helpful. Oh man, we saw Salvik last game. Was not incredibly impressed by them. So we'll see. We shall see.
Nosy Dewdrop.
Nosy Dewdrop. So I start with Fairy Charm and a lot of potions. Although Udyr isn't as scary as a lot of other
Oh, Lizzie.
junglers.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
That squirrel looks
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Yep, that tasted purple. No people with their eyes closed.
At least we didn't die. Oh man.
Never look a tulip in the eye.
I think we could have won that fight if I had picked up Glitter Lance earlier and actually hit them with it. I did pick it up like a second late and hit them with it. And alternatively, if it wasn't a baddie. No. If Vayne didn't get caught like straight out.
Closed. Whoa.
Like, I often like having ward coverage in both places, in back rush and here, but it's particularly important since we don't have flash.
Yep, that tasted purple.
And they have level 2 before us.
First blood.
Whoop!
That squirrel looks familiar. A solid 50.
An enemy has been slain.
Never look truth in the eye. I recommend
Get off my back, home dog. It's my Vayne.
Yep, that tasted purple.
Zone out Chikagma.
Never look truth in the eye. That squirrel looks familiar.
Go Volibear, go. I was watching bot.
Nosy Dewdrop. You'll see more with your eyes closed.
An enemy has been slain.
Suck your dick.
Ow.
An enemy has been slain.
What do we do?
I recommend Skippy.
Oh, this game.
An
Come back, I want
ally
to speed
has
you up.
been slain.
Oh dear.
Nosy Dewdrop.
Until he's level 6. That'll be really OP.
I recommend skipping. You'll see more with your eyes closed.
There we go.
Whoa. Maybe.
An ally has been
Should have pinged earlier.
Too tall. Much too tall.
I don't see him.
Yup. Tasted purple. That squirrel looks familiar.
enemy killing spree.
Just a pinch. Nosy dewdrop.
Executed.
Yup. That tasted purple.
An ally has been
I
slain.
recommend skipping.
An ally has been slain.
They aren't gonna like this.
No! Ugh!
Whoa. Dizzy. That squirrel looks familiar. You'll see more with your eyes closed. Yup. That tasted purple.
Enemy killing spree.
Everyone keeps on getting out of my range because they run faster than me.
I recommend skipping. That squirrel looks familiar.
Oh, Trubisky. Just jump to him.
An enemy has been slain. Double kill.
There you go.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Really was just a dumb idea to help that Mundo out. Mundo didn't have his ultimate, had like 25% of his life. Ugh. Ugh. And really we should have been able to kill them bottom. It's kind of an all-around bad play by everyone. Wasn't really my fault, but it was kind of my fault. Like, I should have been able to help Triescum a little bit more. That being said, it was kind of his, well, it was definitely his fault for getting caught within turret range by headbutt combo, headbutt pulverize combo. That's no bueno. No es bueno.
That squirrel looks familiar.
Really?
I recommend skipping.
Should have tried to keep myself alive, I guess. As opposed to Takashi.
You'll see more with your eyes closed. No need to try.
Zinger! It's kind of funny because like we were winning our lane, so we just get like a lot of extra attention from the opposition, which is annoying.
Yup, that tasted purple.
Shut down.
No! That's like the opposite of good.
Nosy dewdrop. You'll see more with your eyes closed. I recommend skipping. That squirrel looks familiar. Never is truth in a lie. Let's use all the telling.
Oh wow. My bad.
Yup,
That bear.
purple.
It's okay. Takashi's just gonna keep farming. Or other trio Eskimo. That's what he does is vain. I guess he will get to a point where he can just insta-give that, Casanova Cassadin.
Whoa. Easy. No, I recommend skipping. That squirrel looks familiar. Just a pinch. No, drop.
Ugh, a little late. Whee, 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 whee.
I recommend skipping.
Rampage.
Yup. That takes it careful.
Has been slain.
Oh, should have leveled that up first.
Is unstoppable. An ally has been slain.
You'll see more with your eyes closed.
Enemy dominated. Shut down. Your turret has been destroyed.
Whoa.
Report Lulu. No, don't report me.
No, you drop. That squirrel looks familiar. You'll see more with your eyes closed. I recommend
No, Vayne, don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it!
Yep, that tasted purple.
Oh my goodness, I sped you up so you could use CC! There we go.
Whoa. Yeah, the pink.
An enemy has been slain.
Yep, that tasted purple.
Really? What? Tree Eskimo!
Has been slain.
Yep, that tasted purple.
Oh, where did it run in? Wish Mundo would run in there. Oh well.
Never.
Doo-be-doo-be-doo. That Kog'Maw should be incredibly weaker than Vayne.
Has been destroyed.
You'll see more with your eyes closed.
Didn't he lose the fight to Blue? We have an Aegis.
Solid giggle.
Enemy killing spree.
Yup. That tasted purple.
Takashi. Peter Takashi.
Whoa. Dizzy. I recommend skipping.
We did have a 2-dragon advantage, but now we got nothing. Now we got nothing. Oh, Mundo.
An ally has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed.
Ugh. Let me get on top of that. Kog'Maw.
Dominating.
Oh man, I lost my Oracle too. Not worth it. Eee! There we go. There we go. Mundo. Mundo, Mundo.
You'll see more with your eyes closed.
Dominating.
Whoa. Yup. That tasted purple. I recommend skipping.
Hey, Kog'Maw was ridiculous. Oh shoot.